Hey everybody, welcome to or welcome back to Sugar Cubes and Coffee, a commentary channel where we look beyond the drama to open up conversations about the world around us. By the way, hi, I am your host, Jamie. Today we'll be discussing the Creepshow Art, or Shannon, as I will refer to her throughout this thing. We're discussing that situation and the quote-unquote deception of anonymity. That's a very hard word to say. Please do not take a shot every time I say that. You will injure yourself. So with all that being prefaced, let's go ahead and get started. Recently, it's been alleged that Shannon, or Creepshow Art, has been fueling flames in her own communities on a gossip site known as LolCow. She has also been reported to be harassing another creator by the name of Emily Artful. Also, just as a side note, I want everyone to understand that despite the way I may feel about the situation, I'm using the word alleged or is reported to have, etc., as a way to protect myself from any legal backlash, because without words such as alleged, it would mean that I'm claiming these things to be true, and I can't in good faith claim these things to be true without judgment from a court of law or any kind of indictment on the part of Shannon being accused and convicted of these things that we are saying. So, that being said, I will be using the word alleged. Now, very briefly, I don't want to make this video strictly about exactly everything she's done and picking everything apart, or everything that she's done allegedly, because that's just not what I'm interested, and I also don't have a part to play in that. She's never done anything to me, never said anything to me. I want to open a discussion about something completely different, about how anonymity affects our behavior and behavioral changes on the internet. That's what I want to discuss. Now, in doing so, I am going to have to give some background information, and I just want you to know that everything I say here is not going to be accurate to what's being said online. The timeline may not be accurate. It's just to sort of give us a jumping off point for further points to come down the line. That being said, I am going to leave a bunch of resources down below, namely, there's going to be an article down below that kind of helped me get my thoughts together on this. There's also going to be Emily Artful's video, and then I may link some other content creators' videos who have come out and talked about their experiences with Shannon Creepshow Art. So very quickly, let's go over Shannon's alleged actions. Shannon allegedly was using the LolCow site to post anonymously in the third person, either in support of herself or in detraction from herself in her own communities. She was also posting negative opinions of other content creators, some of which are known to be her friends outside of the internet. Because she was allegedly deceiving LolCow admins, this broke a few of their rules and they revoked her anonymity, meaning they gathered up all of the evidence, everything she's ever posted from certain IP addresses, and said, this is all the same person, this is all Shannon, you broke our rules, we are going to out you, as it were. Also, I don't know if I can link that down below, but I might try to. There are pages worth. Now, after that story broke, Shannon made a post on her community tab, you can still go and see it, claiming that this was all the work of her stalker, harasser, abuser, Amy. Amy has never really been given any more identifying information other than her name is Amy, and that's kind of it. She has kids, I think, is what Shannon might have said. Now, in doing so, in claiming that this was Amy, she also claimed that Amy spoofed her IP address and was posting as her, pretending to be her to get her in trouble, to get her friends to hate her. And these claims of IP spoofing so frequently across so many devices, across so many years, while some people have said it is possible, it is highly, highly, highly improbable. So the internet has basically said, this is debunked, this is not possible, we believe that you might be lying. About 2 weeks after this, Emily Artful posted it is a quite long video, but honestly I don't think any of the information in that video is repetitive, essentially providing her evidence as to why she believes her personal stalker and harasser was in fact Shannon Creepshow Art. One of the main reasons why a lot of the internet is believing this to be true is because Shannon Creepshow Art is now either dating or married to Emily Artful's previously toxic, perhaps abusive boyfriend. I very distinctly remember some videos in which Creepshow would call this person her husband, and then I'm remembering some where she called him her boyfriend, so the timeline of that is very sparse, but essentially all you need to know is Emily's ex is now with Shannon in some capacity. Within the same time, very quickly after Emily uploaded her video, and very quickly after the lolcow situation was brought to light, many content creators who were outwardly Shannon's friends off the internet, they appeared to actually be very good friends, were coming out with their own stories of being deceived by Shannon, how they felt about the situation, comments about being love bombed and ghosted after all of this situation came to light. And then many other creators who outwardly were not friends with Shannon were coming out with their own stories of harassment and toxic behavior at the hand of Shannon. So now you know the very general backstory. It was a very volatile situation. I think actually it still is. It blew up YouTube and a few other parts of the internet for quite some time, a few weeks. So it was an incredibly volatile situation, and a lot of divisive behavior was being seen from Shannon's fans. I was seeing very few of them saying they would still support her, and very many of them saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe I ever supported you. How could you have lied to me and deceived me?" And that sort of brings up what I want to talk about today. This entire situation is a very interesting case study, essentially, in how anonymity can affect behavior and how certain maybe aggressive or abusive traits can be amplified by this perceived or real anonymity that people are given online. I would like to say that we've seen a rise in sites that allow you to be completely anonymous, but the fact of the matter is, unless you put your real name, actual identifying information about yourself in these profiles of these accounts when you create them, essentially you can be anonymous on basically any website, whether that's 4chan, lolcow, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, pretty much anywhere you can be for the most part as anonymous as you wish to be. So why is the guise of anonymity a bad thing, and what did it even have to do with this situation as a whole? With the different levels of anonymity, and essentially online we can choose what we want those levels to be, we are allowed to exhibit different behaviors knowing that we are protected behind this shield of, if I don't use my real name, that can't be traced back to me. Or if I, am a content creator and I want to go to lolcow and post about how I don't like other content creators, I can then still pretend to be friends with them for clout if that's something you wanted to do, which some people do. It's very strange. In the case of Shannon's alleged posts on lolcow, it allowed her to share negative comments about herself and her own friends and other content creators without experiencing backlash and a loss of audience. So that's what I believe she turned to lolcow for. Now, in that same vein, for her alleged harassment of Emily Artful, there are some very obvious reasons why she would not be open and honest about this to her friends or her fans, because this is some highly illegal shit. And I also want to say that I don't think any of her creator friends, I don't even know if they're still friends, but I don't think any of her friends would have condoned this behavior if they knew what she was doing. And it's very possible that she came to a point of deciding, do I continue to harass this person and lose my friends, or do I continue to harass this person and bury that deep down and never talk about it again? Or as we can see in Emily Artful's video, do I make up a story deflecting blame from myself to get this over with so I can move on from it because I'm close to being found out? Anonymity, when used in this way, provides a buffer or a shield of sorts for people who we may not think of as terrible, but want to do terrible things. And this type of shield allows harassers and abusers all the time to do terrible things and get away essentially scot-free, because there's no way you can prove that these 200 spoof accounts are actually spoof accounts and also they're the same person. It's incredibly hard to prove that. And we can very much so see this in Emily Artful's case. She would receive abuse from all different directions, and there's nothing really solid to tie together that these are all the same person. They are all the same person that you think it is, and that this is being done intentionally. It's all very hard to prove. And especially in this case, it is very likely that Shannon is going to say, well, that's not me, and you don't have good enough evidence to prove that it is. And in a court of law, that might be correct. But in the court of public opinion, I feel like everyone's kind of already made up their minds that this is very likely something that Shannon might have had a part in. Now, with all this being said, anonymity will not lead a person to do something out of character for them. So let's say that you really are very much so a genuinely kind-hearted person. Having anonymity bestowed upon you would not then drive you instinctively to say horrible, terrible, mean things about people. But let's say maybe you are going through some confidence issues, maybe you do have low self-esteem, maybe you do genuinely feel as if you are worth less than other people around you. Tendencies to put others down, to bring yourself up, might show more so under anonymity than they would face-to-face with another person. I think that the more and more people think about their relationships with her, they might start to see and get a peek under that mask of this does actually seem very in character for her. And that's strictly because being anonymous does not bestow upon you a power that is too great to handle, and so you get corrupted. Being anonymous is just that. It's not tying your face and your name and your identity to your online persona. And as I said in the beginning, I am going to post that article that kind of helped gather my thoughts on this. Essentially, there's no definitive evidence that being anonymous makes you a terrible person, but there is some correlation between being given an anonymous veil online and the increase in these aggressive or abusive behaviors from people who might already exhibit those behaviors. But for the most part, there's not a complete change in behavior. And this whole perception that anonymity will make you aggressive, will make you mean, will lead you to be a troll, a hater, a harasser, an abuser, a manipulator, etc. That is the true deception of anonymity. Somehow having a persona online that isn't actually tied to you in any really identifying way tricks a lot of people into believing that I'm only taking these actions because they can't be traced back to me. This has nothing to do with who I am as a person. These are not actions I would ever take. And while they're distancing themselves from this online persona who is doing these terrible things, they're also distancing those actions from who they are as a person. Nobody wants to think of themselves as a terrible person, especially when we do terrible things that we may not intend to do, or if we do them, we try to distance ourselves from them and say, that's not who I am, that's not something I would do. But I want to stress that it is so much easier to distance who you are as a person and how you perceive yourself as a person from your terrible actions when your actions are being done under a new name, under a different persona, under a user ID where you can post all of those negative emotions that you're feeling or thinking. But at a certain point, because those actions are being done by us, those actions are not out of the ordinary. They're not spontaneously coming out of nowhere just because they're not tied to you in any identifying way. That persona gets closer and closer and closer to really representing who we actually are. And I think the allegations that Shannon is under, the alleged actions that she has taken, I think all of this shows someone who tried so hard to distance themselves from that terrible person is doing awful things but I'm not them. You can also see that it failed miserably and all of her bridges were burned along the way. So that's just something that I want you to think about. If you are one of those people who will post pretty inflammatory things under the guise of anonymity, please take some self-reflection and understand that anonymity can and will be revoked at any time. And I think that's what lolcow very perfectly shows us, is even if you think that you will be anonymous forever, you won't. When you're no longer anonymous, all of those actions will come back to haunt you, and you cannot run from them, you cannot deny them, because that is a part of you. And the sooner and quicker you understand that, the sooner and quicker most people, I'm sure, would sort of change their online personas to better reflect who they think they are, rather than how they are acting. That was all very heavy and a little dark and a little not so happy and bubbly, which is valid. But I also wanted to let you guys know, like, there are some good sides to being anonymous on the internet, whether it's online Alcoholics Anonymous, people sharing that they've been sober for years anonymous. You see it all the time in different subreddits, and sometimes on 4chan, a lot of times on Tumblr. People sharing good things about themselves, or people asking for help, how to get out of a situation that they can't be open and honest about because maybe the person who put them in that situation would find out and there would be repercussions. So there is a positive side to anonymity on the internet, and I don't think that, you know, all of a sudden everything should be revoked. You should be representing exactly who you are online. But I do wish people would understand that we don't have to be monsters just because our name isn't being shown. We can be kind to each other. We can be nice to each other. It is possible, and it's actually more probable than you would think. But if you are really having these self-doubts or these emotions that lead you to post very harassing and inflammatory things online, and then you try to separate yourself from that, that's definitely something you should maybe talk to a professional about. Maybe there's something in you that you don't know needs addressing yet, and that could be a very good way to go about it, is to see a therapist or talk to a professional who can help you. So with all of that very long-windedness, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and please share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think being anonymous on the internet is a good thing? How can it be used for good? Do you think it's a bad thing? How is it used in a negative way? Do the benefits of anonymity outweigh the cons of anonymity on the internet? Because that's something I'm pretty interested in. This got me down a whole rabbit hole of, like, I want to read a bunch of studies, figure out, you know, what's up with people, why do people do this? And yeah, it was fun. It was definitely interesting. In the meantime, I've been Jamie. This has been Sugar Cubes and Coffee. You've been great, and I will see you in the next one.